Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rational Independent. For today's article, we've got a short one, but we're returning to someone we've talked about before. Representative George Santos, freshman congressman from New York, I forget which district, but from New York, is back in the news after being arrested for a variety of charges. Let's talk about it. Headline from The Independent: George Santos voting on employment fraud bill 24 hours after being arrested for employment fraud. We're going to read a bit from this article because it is very brief, not a lot of meat to it. Representative Santos returned to the Capitol on Thursday following his arrest a day earlier for employment fraud, just in time to vote on a bill dealing with that exact topic. If all you read is the headline and maybe the first paragraph, the impression that you're getting is that a corrupt Republican congressman is voting on laws relating to crimes that he's committed. That's the implication. As we're training ourselves to look at reporting with a critical eye, would you expect him to be supporting laws that further strengthen protections against fraud or relax restrictions and regulations regarding fraud? So he pled not guilty. He's going to fight the charges in court. He returned and was bombarded with questions about whether it was right for him to vote on such a bill. Now, here's what's interesting. What's more, Mr. Santos is a co-sponsor of the legislation being introduced. He's not just voting on any old law, he's voting on a law that he co-sponsored. So if he's sponsoring bills, that means he's putting these forward, he's putting his political stamp on them, saying, this is part of my agenda, this is something I want to see done in Congress. The legislation would strengthen America's fraud laws by extending the statute of limitations for such investigations and providing more incentives for states to investigate and uncover fraud. If the drama around this is that he's voting on employment fraud laws after being charged with employment fraud, and if the charges have merit, meaning if he did bad stuff, why would he be co-sponsoring a bill that would make it easier for people who committed fraud to get investigated? That's either psychotic, which is not outside the realm of possibility. From what we've seen, this man is an incredible liar. But one other possibility is that he's not guilty. Sure, he's a liar, but is he a criminal? There's a lot of editorializing in reporting. And by that, I mean you report a fact, and then as the reporter, you characterize that reporting. And sometimes that characterization can change the color. Often that characterization, that editorializing, your comment about the comment, can change the flavor of what you're reporting. For instance, I'm going to read this paragraph. The very next paragraph after what we've been discussing. Quote, well, allegations are not proof, right, Rachel? Barked the Republican lawmaker at a journalist as he jogged up a flight of stairs away from gathered reporters. This is the only sentence that they quote from him. This is his only voice in this article about him. He's offering the factual statement here that allegations are not proof. Anyone can be indicted for almost anything. And particularly when there's political motivation, it seems these days that indictments can sometimes happen without a lot of evidence, without a lot of proof. But the reporter just couldn't resist offering a little shade, a little commentary. The Republican lawmaker is barking at the journalists. He's jogging away from them. He's leaving the press with questions unanswered. Not a point of great substance, but interesting nonetheless. The article concludes by referencing some of the lies that he spoke in his campaign, talking about how there are a lot of people in Congress who want him to resign or to be expelled from the body. Shockingly, Mitt Romney doesn't like him. Whatever. I stopped taking Senator Romney seriously a long time ago. I'm going to give them their last word, which I thought was kind of interesting. Though he has few allies on Capitol Hill, Mr. Santos has nevertheless cultivated a few political friendships among far-right Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and has made numerous floor speeches as he seeks to flood the zone with legitimate congressional work. So the left really wants to hate George Santos. This was the #1 Reddit article today by a mile. It wasn't anything even close. Even the tempest in a teapot over Clarence Thomas couldn't come close to gathering the number of eyeballs that this article did. So it's clear there's a bunch of people with some hate on for George Santos. They're very upset about this. The closing paragraph says he's a freshman congressman who's made friends with other freshman congressmen, and he's working hard. What are you going to do? That's the angle that they're taking. Here's my 2 cents. In the world of politics, they're all liars. And really the only distinction that I've found is that some of them are good liars and some of them are bad liars. Here's an example of a bad liar. When you lie about something that doesn't matter, a lie that you can be caught in, that can be proved against you, about something that there's no reason to lie. Like, at one point, I'm pretty sure Representative Santos claimed to be descended from Jewish Holocaust survivors. What's the point of claiming descendancy from Jewish Holocaust survivors? People can look up genealogical records. People can validate whether or not you're lying. Where's the upside? That's a bad liar. Good liars, I would give an example of Harry Reid. One of the famous things that happened 10 plus years ago, in the run-up to the 2012 election, go in the Wayback Machine, President Obama is running for a second term against Mitt Romney. Hey, Mitt makes an appearance again. And Harry Reid is the Democratic Senate Majority Leader. And one of the interesting things about being in the Senate is that they have a fun little thing. They have a law in place that says any words spoken from the well of the Senate, if you get up and you're speaking, addressing the body of the Senate, you cannot be charged with defamation. Nothing you say there can be considered defamation. It's one of the few places in the world where you have that kind of protection. So Harry Reid gets up 6 weeks before the election and says, I've been receiving reports that Mitt Romney hasn't paid his taxes in 10 years. That Mitt Romney hasn't paid his taxes in 10 years. Either that's true or that's false. If that's true, the IRS should be able to tell you. Failure to pay your taxes is a criminal offense. You can go to prison. So why is it that Mitt Romney isn't in prison after 10 years? Is the IRS incompetent? Or it's false, and Mitt Romney has paid his taxes and is totally compliant. We can all move forward with our lives. Harry Reid told a lie, proven by the fact that Mitt Romney never went to prison. No one ever came up and tried to substantiate those allegations. There was never any further follow-up. Even Harry Reid dropped it. He was asked about it about 6 months later. Said, do you feel bad about bringing that up? And he looks at the reporter and he smirks and he goes, he didn't get elected, did he? In other words, with a wink and a nod, he's saying, I told a lie to sway an election, but I did it in a way that's not provable. The stakes are worthwhile, and I couldn't come back and bite me because I have protection against defamation because I was speaking from the well of the Senate. If he'd said the same thing in a press conference, he could get sued for defamation. That's an example of a good liar. Do you object to George Santos because he's a liar or because he's a bad liar? Those are my 2 cents. That's my Reddit rant for today. We'll keep it brief. Good luck out there.